Thursday, November 6th, market and analysis, Stan Ehrlich. You know, I start out with stock indexes, go to futures, and also covers a few stocks. Now, I've been talking about the market starting to come down for over a week before last week because of overbought conditions and gaps to come back and close, things like that. Well, most of the indexes have had bearish engulfing ER sell signals on the exact high day, October 29th in the case of the MES here, with another new short sell signal the next day. And today's new low and new low close is well below the sell signal, short selling areas and those signals. Working great. Obviously, my trailing stop has come down quite a bit, and there were also day trade scalping potentials as well. But we have now come down low enough to get into the first support area. We just got a little bit below yesterday's low, and the close is quite lower, but not even below yesterday's low. And gaps are closed. So I expect a bounce soon, but not quite yet necessarily. We're not oversold. You know, I like oversold conditions for bullish turning points. So there is a chance that we could slip as quickly as in a few days or less than a week down to 65.90-ish, which is the area I really expect to be challenged, the October 10th lows. Now, that was the October lows, but this last year, but boy, that was feeble, not very significant. And I expect them to get broken in November. So I don't even think they're going to hold. Take a look at this since last April when we had a bullish engulfing AR price signal, of course, on April 9th. I think that was the low during that. Oh, yeah. Okay, at the bottom, put it that way. We have gone up quite a bit. Granted, the amount's not necessarily important. Our break in the last week or so is not that big a deal so far. A lot of neophytes in the industry would think, hey, it looks just like these other little dips that we have had so far. In fact, it's smaller than some of the others, like October 10th. So, and another thing, any long-term moving averages, of course, haven't been broken. God forbid the Dow Theorist 10 200-day moving average. But that's all after the fact. We've got the sell signals on top. Let's look at the 1-minute bar chart coming down really great. We also have a overbought condition in an outside trading range on October 29th for the SPY. It did manage to close just barely higher in the last less than 60 seconds, and I'm not kidding you. So it didn't have a red bearish engulfing ER sell signal, but so close. So I said on that day, go back and listen to my recording, that I think I have to treat that as a bearish engulfing because of what the other indexes were doing at the same time, let alone the MES. And here's the break since then. That was a 1-minute chart. That's right. Okay. So what now? QQQ has, as of today, closed the last and final of 3 gaps. Done. Closed. Today's low is low enough to cover the high made on October 23rd. No gaps to close, and it is the beginning of some support. The highs that we were at in October, early October, just before October 10th's crashing bearish signal low, October low. So I do expect there's a good chance that it could bounce a little bit at the moment, but maybe a 2 or 3 or 4 small, minor, not consequential up days, sideways days, tiny bit lower, bobbling back and forth kind of days. Or it's just going to drop like a rock and get down to 584-ish pretty quickly, although I do not necessarily expect that. It probably would get oversold at the same time. Therefore, a bounce, and much more likely a bounce. Basically bearish. What can I say? We don't have a signal at the top, unfortunately, just overbought condition. Here's the 5-minute chart, or 1 minute, sorry, 1-minute chart. Almost a new low at the close. Um, Next chart is going to be NQ, NASDAQ futures, and it closed just a little bit above yesterday's low, but down quite a bit for the day and made a lower low. There are no gaps left to close. It's just starting to come back to the low highs of October, the beginning, first, not that consequential level of support, and we're nowhere near oversold. So I can't really expect much of a bounce, as I've said. And my real expectation is down to 24, 430-ish, or down to 24, 040, 40-ish. That yellow zone. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe in a week or two or three at the most. Next, NASDAQ futures coming down. Next, YM. New low for the move down, new low close, basic bearish engulfing ER sell signals on the exact high day. I forgot to mention, did I have, oh yeah, I will have one on top also on the NQ. Sorry, didn't mention it, but pick the top there also. So that's three indexes. Secondary sell signal. Today, lower low, new low close. Minimum expectation of the downside has probably been touched as of today. I probably should pull this support area all the way over here, and it may look like it needs a little editing, but not really. I'm going to leave it the way it is. And that's what I'm looking for right away. Then a little bounce like the other indexes, or a little bounce right here, but still lower. And the low of October, October 10th again. That's my expectation, or a little bit above that. In this case, YM. And here's the 1 minute chart. Also, Russell has been coming down faster than the others, quicker, sooner, and is already sitting in a bunch of whatever. Um, I don't know that there's any well-defined support area to speak of. Maybe a little bit under today and yesterday's lows. I've got some others, but the big one is down here at 2,300. That's the one I expected to bounce off of. Now, the 1 minute chart. Okay, bonds. Not a new low, bounced up pretty good, closed very firmly. I don't think this is a bottom of any consequence, but it did touch, or maybe barely super close for the last 2 days, oversold conditions. This would have turned yellow if that's mathematically correct. So, and that would have been yellow, the last two bars on the RSI. So it barely missed. Is this a bounce? Well, already somewhat. Can't say. Generally, I've been looking for a little bit lower than this so far. I'm going to stick to that. Same with the notes, which did get oversold yesterday and today, just barely, you can see, below my threshold, and closed pretty firmly. That's a new high close for the last 5 days. It's almost a bullish engulfing AR buy signal. Bonds was not an outside up day. Nope. Okay. Neutral and interest rate futures, I suppose, at the moment, to be honest. Crude oil. New low close. Still looking for a test of support now. Resistance is above the market. Support didn't hold. Things are flipping bearish, more bearishly, put it that way. The longer term is lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and basically lower lows. Looking for a test of support 55.96 or lower. New high close. Natural gas. Now, we're almost up to overbought. Maybe there's, and it's an outside up day as well, going to be a pop of a rally. But right now we're sitting smack dab at my resistance area, top of it. So I need to clear that, and it could be one big up day like tomorrow. But I don't think the trend is changed to up. This major resistance area is approximately 4.7. So one more big up day, and we're definitely going to be overbought. Maybe it'll gap up to be an exhaustion gap. I don't trust this rally. I'm looking for a sell signal. Next, heating oil, overbought, new high close. Right up to a previous rally high, right in there. This highlight right there is almost perfectly in line with today's high. Overbought resistance. Watch out. Next, grain, metal, gold. We almost got the highest high. Second day was barely a higher high for a new ER sell signal. We've gone sideways for a week and a half or so. I think we're going to see new lows that are a problem this next several days, a week or so. And my downside objective is basically a little under 3,600. Next. Same comment for silver. And we did get the exact high day. Looking for a move down to approximately a little below 38. Yeah, 36 maybe. Next, outside down day in platinum, probably pushing it next tomorrow into new lows or close to it since late September. That is going to challenge a support bull trend line, and it might possibly get oversold. I can't tell for sure, but it's going to be awful close. So maybe a bounce off of the support level and a bull trend line at around 1469. Let's call it 1470. That's where the line should be tomorrow. Yeah, high grade copper. Don't trust any bounces. Double top potential. Almost broke out to the downside yesterday. Small bounce today. Maybe a little bit more in a day or two up, but I soon expect, very soon, any day, for it to drop off below yesterday's low, then be a breakout of the double top on a close basis below 4.8165. Then the minimum downside objective is basically a test of the crash low, 4.409 or whatever it is. Yeah, right in there, 4.400. So, bearish. Okay, overbought condition in soybeans for the last 4 days, including today, stopped at almost exactly the same price level. Now, granted, that price level is super important, super, because it is a new high since August of last year, a year and a third. We have already come back down to the support level, which wasn't much lower. That was a little above yesterday's low and the day before, and also pretty much on Monday. So 80% of this week's price action has been above that support level, but we closed below it and below the lows of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday today. So we come back down a little bit more somewhere in this giant support area. I'm thinking not much, 1092, turn up, make new highs for the trend. I am long-term bullish on soybeans. I have talked about this for months. So it's a matter, in my opinion, as to whether what it bounces off of, as it has a typical downside correction. I hoped it was going to hold its support right up here, 1020, 1120, sorry. It didn't. It tried for a couple days. So now it's a little lower. And I think a gap, I should point that out, at 1063.50 is not out of the question as far as going down to that level and turning around and going back up. Next, soybean oil can't seem to get its act in gear and close above the major bear trend line that it's been involved in. That's been essentially the top of a previous downward slanting channel. If you popped this line a little higher, look at that. It clips off real accurately a bunch of these highs, a parallel line. None closed above that one. This is worth doing something here. Control copy and then paste. Pull the old line right back down to where it was. There you go, right there. Yeah. And we still have a downward slanting channel. It just has a little extra trend line, channel line. So that's going to be my new line. Let's even change this into something else like a dash data or a lightly tinted yellow. So now I need to close above the slightly higher bear trend line across the top of the channel. That is very unusual that I found a perfectly parallel resistance line. So No breakout. It could ruin my buy signal, which so far has been the exact low day. I hope it holds and turns right smack up above the high of today, which was, if it closed there, a clear breakout in every respect. But bearish engulfing also. Ouch. I have to say a little lower, but hopefully hardly any, and then up. Next, we have an overbought condition in soybean meal, so it could come down some more. It damn near had a bearish engulfing ER sell signal. It could not get above yesterday's high. That would have been it. So the first support area is being tested right away. I expected a good possibility of it coming down to about 306, but maybe a bit lower than that. Looks a lot more important at 295. But then up. I'm long-term bullish on grain. Corn, we've got a sell signal at the top of the rally so far, exactly, but I'm not really proven correct because we haven't closed below the low of the sell signal actually the next day, which I think is going to happen probably tomorrow. So I have to say quite cautiously that almost all the grains look like they have a little bit of short-term downside swing potential, and then all of them should turn back up. Yep. Wheat, same thing. Overbought, too much so. Came back to the first support area too quickly. Probably going to drop off a little bit more, and I can't rule out 515 and a quarter to close the gap and then up. Still long-term bullish. All right, here's some stock. Apple higher high, but not a good close, not above previous rallies. Still going essentially sideways for a week and a half. No follow through. The day it made a new high for the trend, it did close lower, almost having a bearish engulfing sell signal, but it wasn't quite. Looking for lower levels. There are gaps to close underneath the market. I've talked about those for days and days. So this is going to happen at 264.20, I think. This is likely to happen, in my opinion, at 253.60. And finally, there's super support under that level, which we might get down to. Now, there's one last little gap, but it's in a major support area. That's at 234, let's call it 235. Next, bearish engulfing outside down day, but oh, gee, this didn't crank up. That's unfortunate. Just a second. Strategy. I thought all of them did. Turn it on and click OK. So this should be calculating right now. Boom, and it did it just like that. Tesla did not have a bearish engulfing because it wasn't overbought. Nevertheless, this was an outside down day. And also, we have still picked, oh gosh, almost the top. Too bad. This was a higher high. The break after my sell signal wasn't that much. I'm calling this a broad double top right now. And we did make a new low for a little bit, but it didn't seem to want to stay down there. So, yeah, pretty much. So I'm looking for a downside breakout below 411. Then we got an objective back to major support at 354. Coming down nicely after upside exhaustion gaps and a little downside breakaway gap. First, it closed. The first gap on the upside, the last, I should say, gap on the upside has now, as of today, been closed. I told you about this the day it gapped up. Of course, starting to yakety yak about it on October 27th. It's done. Finished kaput. Now we got a gap above the market. We're back down in support. The only thing that's not necessarily on my side is we're not oversold yet. That would have been better. Can it go down a little bit more? I suppose. Wouldn't hurt anything long term, which is still bullish. Maybe even as that would be to 176 and three quarters, maybe a little bit lower than that, 171. But still have long-term bullish expectations. Because the gaps are closed, it could turn up any moment. Next, the gap is also closed almost exactly on AMD. Today's low is 16 pennies. Below the high the day it gapped up, which was on October 23. Almost a dead perfect gap closure. End of story. We got overbought. That's it. Now what? Little support, not oversold, could come dribbling down some more. There's a very, very big gap to close, maybe. all the way down to 170 and a half. That's pretty significant, not joke about. That's $70 on a $230 stock. $70 lower. Hmm. I don't rule that out. You guys have a great day and profitable trading to you.